All right, so what I've done is I've brought up the database that's already done, and I want to bring up the rubrics and kind of talk through different things. So for instance, the very first thing, we're doing tutorial for the Chatham or Chatham, or however you want to pronounce it, database. And there are some different things that you should have accomplished. For instance, there's the patient form, right? So what we're going to do is I'm going to go to the patient form, and there's, let's see here, there's two different forms, form created, patient, and with the form and the subform. So we're going to, here's our patient data, and this is the way our patient data looks, and then we have our patient visits that look like this with our form and our subform. So then when I take a look at my all fields, there are 10, and are they in the correct order? The theme, applied slice, color, font, and graphic. So that's when we're working with those items. We are specifically working with the patient data form. Now notice that our patient data form is linked to our tables, okay? So as a result, this is a clean way to input data. This is a clean way to modify and play with the information as necessary, so we know more of what's actually going on. And this is, I tab through it without a problem. You notice on my date, I also have the ability to input my date there. Down here, I can move from record to record. So that takes care of what our expectations are for the patient form. Now, patient visits and visit subform. What I'm looking for is I want, the format with the title. Is it resized? Is the subform correct? Can we see it? All fields, patient, 6 visits. So what we do is I actually bring the patient visits up. We have our main visit form and our main subform that actually talks about the different elements. So Dustin Burgett is migraine. Now what's very interesting about patients and visits, what you'll notice, here's my patient form, and here's my visit form with a visit ID. Now, in my patient form, as I bring this across, because I actually went to all the trouble to make a relationship, if I click on this, there is a visit associated with this particular patient. That means if I take a look at my relationships, let me find my relationships. Okay, if I take a look at my visit right here, you'll notice I have a visit 1527 that's associated with a certain patient ID. As I look, trying to see if there's one visit. So, patient ID 22560 has a number of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 visits. Using the patient ID 22560, so if I look down here, I should see 22560. So Patrice Lewis has visited 3 times, if I remember correctly. So if I go to 22560, right, I could do it this way, or I can push a find, do 22560, and then I'll do find it. All my visits that are associated with Patrice Lewis are then detailed below. And what they've done is in the relationships window, they've actually made it where they can. So here's our visit and our patient linked together with our patient ID. You'll notice our patient ID is a one-to-many relationship. So that means it exists once in a patient table, but can exist many times in the visiting table or in the visit table because they have multiple instances. Just like in the visit to the billing, there's one visit ID, but it could have many different visit IDs because it could be billed different ways or had multiple billing items. So this takes care of our form and subform with our patient visits and visit form. Now, patients and visits were actually making these, and this is a report. And the idea behind a report is actually giving the information, letting us see a view into the information of what's actually been reported. Now, reports are usually based on queries or they're based on tables. 9 times out of 10, they're based on queries. So if I come along, I want the patients and visits report. So I go down, there's my patients and visits. So if I run this, these are all my patients with the patient information. And then as I scroll down, I can actually see the visits and what's going on, patient ID, what the date of visit is, what's happening with it as it goes through. So we have, as I was saying, we have our patients and our visits. Now, I would go through and I'd clean up this report to make it a little bit easier, and I'd put in some dividing lines. But you can clearly see that this is based on a combination of those two items as we go through. And if I'm looking at my rubric, I will see all fields are added and theme applied with a slice, which is move and resize, the walk-in, a visit date, title, font, and picture, and formatting of the birth date, right? So, and then we have a patients and visits with a report condition, right? So in that particular case, I'm then basing it with a patients and visits report condition. Let me just make sure that this is actually it. So that's not it. Let me see. Here's my patient condition. So I want to go to my design view. And here's my actual design view. And then I want to take a look at what my particular, so my record source, I could click on this and it'll tell me I went to the properties, and it's based on patient and visit. So by patient ID, the visit, and it should be a criteria in there which is not actually present. So the criteria that I'm looking for, you'll notice, is, all right, hold on, just as I was saying, as I was going through, I want to take a look at my rubric again, and I want to make sure it's greater than and it's formatted correctly. All right, so that basically runs us through the general what you're kind of going to be looking for. So I'm going to close this, close it all. It's going to take a little bit. So in our particular case, you notice we have our patient data and the patient visit, and that's actually a form and a subform that's broken or brought together by use of our relationship windows. So this is when we look at our patient data. Oh, hey, awesome. Let's just reload all that because we, good old access. It happens to the best of us. All right, so let's do this again. So we have our patient data. Looks like that, right? So 52, nice and pretty. And our patient visits, which we have our normal patient visits, and then the individual visits that are related. Now, using our one-to-many relationship, now we have situations where we have multiple items listed under here. Now, you'll also notice, because you have that one-to-many relationship between the patient and visit, if you come under the table that represents the patient and you hit this little plus sign right here, it also lists all the items from the one-to-many relationship that's associated with that particular piece of data. And for instance, if I go into my visit table, I'll also go into the billing that's associated with that. So here's all my invoice date, my invoice numbers, what's going on with that, and things along those lines. All right, well, I think that gives you a general, and of course we have our visit data, our patient data, and our patient visits, right? So we have all our items relatively in place. Gives you a general idea of what we're looking at. Remember, our reports give us a view into the data that's been pulled, and then at visit details, same way. So if you have any particular questions, make sure to voice them to me. Make sure to either email them to me or post it so I can discuss these. But I hope this gives you a general idea of what's going on and kind of the end result of what we're looking for the databases. Thank you for your time.